Welcome back. Blah, blah, blah. Welcome back to D&M Reptiles. I am Doug Beasley, but my friends call me the best lover of all time.
I'm Mike. My friends just call me Mike.
So, we're going to start off with a comparison. Both of these animals are about the same age, within a couple months, just over a year. This animal has really good genetics. It is a platinum marble, 25% Calatoa, 25% Jampea. So essentially 50% dwarf, super dwarf. This animal is a pure mainland. It's a rennet ghost morph, but here you go. Look at the size comparison. Just girth. I mean, she's huge. We're feeding her small rats now, and this gal's on like rat pups or fuzzies, depending on the week. But it'll give you a little bit of a size, length comparison too. So the reason we're showing you this is just to show that locale does have effect on size. Both of these animals have been fed on the same schedule, and there's a drastic difference in size, which brings us to the point of today's video. It's basically a part 2 to our What is a Super Dwarf series. So we're going to get some scientific names out of the way. There's basically 3 subspecies to the reticulated python. There's a Python reticulatus, which is this animal. Python reticulatus saputrii. Is Calatoa saputrii?
I believe Calatoa
is the Python reticulatus Jampianus. Jampanus. So, now, our theory is that there just hasn't been enough scientific research on all of these subspecies of reticulated python. Also another focus that we're going into is the Halmahara, like yesterday's video, or our last video, is considered scientifically the Python reticulatus, which is that. And that animal that we showed you yesterday is
about a year old.
About a year old.
Maybe half this size.
That size, maybe. Yeah, definitely. And definitely nowhere near the girth either. We're not feeding small rats to the Halmaharas. They're on like fuzzies, essentially, or like small chickens, or like small quails. Just a lot smaller of a prey item. So we're also going to talk about the regions that they're from. It's kind of hard. We'll put the pictures up. So this region, I don't know if anyone can see this. We'll put it up on there. This is the Maluku Islands of Indonesia. So there's a crap ton of these tiny islands over there in Indonesia, and it very well may be that the reticulated python that's on all of these islands are very different. They've all evolved differently, but there's also the possibility that they were brought there by us. We talked about that too, where that's definitely a possibility with trade going back and forth to these islands. That, you know, maybe that's why some of the large reticulated pythons are still found on some of these smaller islands. Food does, availability of food does have...
It does have a slight effect,
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the only determination.
Yeah, as far as size, length, and girth.
I mean, you could take a Karampa and hammer it with food all you want. It's not going to get 15 foot.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen. You'll have a fat Karampa that will probably die, which we have found that overfeeding is something that can kill your animal. We acquired an animal that was overfed dramatically, and when it died, we had an autopsy, and the veterinarian told us that there was fat deposits and fat pockets all around his heart and lungs, which probably is what killed him. So don't overfeed your reticulated pythons trying to get a giant snake, because you have both sides of the aisle. You got the people that want a giant animal, and then the people that want a small animal. You're not going to control that by food intake. You're going to control how fat it is, but you're not going to control how long and large that it'll get.
If you want a big snake, just let it happen.
Just let it happen. Buy a big snake.
Time will do it.
Yeah, time will tell. So the Maluku Islands are mostly included in the Meliopython reticulatus, which is one of our arguments that a lot of them are probably more dwarf. And that's another thing we talk about is super dwarf and dwarf, the terminology with this. We all know that this was just a marketing thing that the original people that were bringing them to the United States used to sell animals. You know, there's the old saying that large snake, small market, small snake, large market. So they advertise it, oh, this is a dwarf or a super dwarf reticulated python. They're easier to sell. The people that wanted a reticulated python because they thought they looked cool, they thought they were fun and active animals, but they couldn't manage the size. So it's just a marketing term, but it has stuck now into today's market. And our argument is, how do we decide what can be called dwarf and what can be called super dwarf? Our argument is fully grown size, right? Length and size on average. So you're going to have those freaks. For example, there was an animal found on Ternate Island, so it's a Ternate locale, that was 15 foot.
That's what they said in the video, 15-foot wild ternate.
Yeah. So, you know, that could be the freak. Just think about, like, the mountain from Game of Thrones. That's a freak. For lack of better terms. I mean, it's just a big dude. But that's a freak, you know? Like, on average, humans are, you know, between 5 and 6 foot tall or whatever. That's the average. You're going to have small and you're going to have large. But on average, that's our argument. On average, at adult size, basically 10 to 11 foot, let's say for a dwarf, anything as an adult under 9 foot. It's probably a super dwarf. So we'll put up pictures of all these things. So here, distribution, essentially. So the Meliopython reticulatus saputrii. We'll go into their distribution. Saputrii includes the Solara Islands, south of southwest Sulawesi, into Flores Sea, and southwest Sulawesi, basically Solara Island, Indonesia. Now that's another subgroup. I don't know if they consider those dwarfs. I know that Solears get pretty big. But either way, the scientists that put these papers out have studied those animals and decided that they were a new subspecies apart from the reticulatus. So that's saputrii. Next would be the Jampanus, the Meliopython reticulatus Jampanus. Their distribution is, let's see, in this paper, it says with certainty only known for Tana Jampea, possibly also on some small neighboring islands, Sulawesi, basically the Tana Jampea Islands, Indonesia. So the Jampanus, Jampea is what we call them. Those have also been put into their own subspecies. Now, Jampeas are considered dwarfs for the most part, correct?
Correct.
So those are the three scientific subspecies of the reticulated python that we could find. In this article, it doesn't say anything about dwarf, super dwarf, but those are the three subspecies as they are recognized now by the scientific community.
These subspecies, from what we found, it appears they're only being classified based on region.
Based on region. We think
is not the proper way to classify something.
Correct.
for example, boa constrictors. In Peru, there's 3 different subcategories of boa constrictor. You can't classify them just from where they come from.
Exactly. And we'll put up a little map to kind of show that too. That's a perfect example of locality and subspecies of a snake. So anyways, this is a platinum marble. 25 Calatoa, 25 Champagnes. Get a good idea of size here. Hopefully it's focusing. Alright. And then here is your mainland. She's very pretty. Rennet Ghost, produced by Mystic Reptiles. The marble over here was produced by Andrew Aceveda. He is a fantastic reticulated python breeder. So I think that's about it, right? So, huh?
I got nothing.
You got nothing? Okay, so thanks for joining us on D&M Reptiles. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We want to get this information out there. We're going to make a few more of these. Thanks for watching. Bye. That's pretty simple. Oh, look, it's still recording too. What does this look like? Oh, yeah. Okay. Hopefully we got close enough. Do that with yours just in case you need to cut and there you go. Cool.